Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Good afternoon. Thank you
Good
for being with me
afternoon.
today.
Happy to be here.
I'm really excited for people to get to know you a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
I have a little short intro, and it's I'm not sure who's watching us live right now, but people will tune in later as well. And uh, you're a dear friend, so I consider a mentor, a coach, a healer when it's for me when it's come to mind connecting to my body. And I've had the goal for a long time. I've always said, okay, I want like having a healthy relationship to my body is something that I've always put out there. And I always thought that meant like liking how I look, but something that I've learned specifically with you over the last year is that a healthy connection to the body could be just like learning how to speak it and feel it and figuring out that there's wisdom there to learn. So I was like, other people need to know about this, so that's why I'm pumped.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could just start off by telling people who you are and your practice, and you're a professional in this. So
Sure. Okay. I'm Karen Adler. I'm a therapist, and I got to know you, Alex, through our kind of common spiritual study of Kabbalah and the laws of the universe, which is, really, I learned self-acceptance training before Kabbalah, but they enrich each other so much, and they're really the same language, really about how we are vessels of light, right? And our job is really to connect to our soul and channel light out into the world, which is a spiritual concept, and self-acceptance is really no different. It's just how to get there. And if we understand that our bodies are the vessel that we operate in the world with, we would realize how important it is to be embodied, to be in the body that actually does all the work all day long. But we live in a culture that's very achievement oriented, it's very thought oriented. And the best way I can describe it, I don't know if I can kind of do a little illustration with a
yeah,
can I do this?
yeah, please.
But we're born into the world. The last time any of us probably ever really experienced a very sort of free expression of emotion is when we're born as a baby. Babies don't care about what other people think. They're not looking up to how you're feeling. They're not really aware of external cues. And so probably for most of us, that was the very last time any of us ever really expressed ourselves fully, when we were uncomfortable. And then somewhere along the line, so I like to say that we come in sort of clean. Okay, you may believe we have past lives and in the womb and all that, but for the most part, we're sort of free to express, and we kind of come in like this. And then at some point, we become aware of our social cues. And someone may tell us to be quiet. Someone may hurt our feelings. Someone may tell us we're inappropriate. Something will happen, or something in our environment becomes traumatic. And what ends up happening is this is our body and our soul, and it creates a crease. And so something happens, and instead of freely expressing, you hold it. You don't freely express it. You end up holding it. And where does it go? If emotions are energy and energy doesn't disappear, it only transforms, then where does that energy of expression go? It goes within the body. And so what ends up happening, something happens when we're 5, something happens, who knows how many times, when we're 8, our parents get divorced, we lose our pet, something happens. And if we don't have that baby free flow of expression, we're holding it. And so what happens is we end up becoming like this, with all of these folds within our personality. And because we're so adaptive, what we do is, instead of expressing from our body, we go up into our mind and we think our way out of it, which is pretty ingenious, really, right? And so we can kind of do well in the society which values achievement, right? And so we can be successful, but are we happy? I can tell you as a therapist, I see people are depressed and anxious, and they're very successful, right?
Yeah.
So what I learned through this, and actually through my own journey of transformation, because as a therapist, I've been in therapy, and I could make a therapist feel they were doing a really good job by telling them things I thought they would want to hear because I'm a pleaser, right? And it wasn't until I came across self-acceptance training that was developed by a man named Dick Conley and Sherry McCoy. I really didn't transform. I really didn't change. I really didn't come into my body. So what ends up happening in the work of self-acceptance is we begin to go in through the intelligence of the body and not through the mind. We bring them together and we begin to explore these held places in your being where you stored that emotion you never got to express or only partially expressed, right? It's really true in grief, right? Where we hold on to some loss and we don't express it. And then we have multiple losses, which is then becomes very complicated. So the body is more directly in line with what you're actually feeling than your mind, because your mind tells stories, right? And then we feed the story, right? And we create sort of catastrophic fantasies in our mind, but the body actually is holding it.
Mm-hmm.
So I will help people go in through the sensation of the body to explore where there are held emotions. And when we go in there, and self-acceptance, the definition is to experience who we truly are without self-evaluation, self-judgment, or self-criticism, or the effort to change. So what happens is we'll begin to explore a sensation. You'll lay down and close your eyes. You'll kind of go inward and begin to, when you go inward, you realize how much you weren't inward, because some people will say, I feel nothing. And that's right, because you're in your head. You've been in your head all day. But if we really take the time to go inward, you might start to feel a tingling, a discomfort, a heaviness. Wherever that is, you'll kind of direct me there. And once we go in there, and it's like a 3-year-old who's trying to get attention, you know? It's like, it gets louder and louder until you pay attention. And sometimes just saying, hello, I see you, is enough to release something right there. And sometimes we have to go into the actual expression of what can get expressed.
Yeah.
And if we get noisy in there, there could be some crying, there could be a lot of emotions, and that's really where the healing is. And when you can experience without the judgment that you got in the first place by shutting it down, when you can experience that sensation or that emotion without the judgment, then change occurs automatically. We soften, we go from being very tight to being sort of more flexible in that space that opens up, right? And so we go from here to here to here. We keep looking at all these different spaces, and what ends up happening is we become more open and available to ourselves. And what we end up feeling is more embodied and expansive inside, right? And that's what true self-acceptance is, to be able to experience yourself without judging it. So I'm still holding it up, and there's a reason for that. And that's because, as you can see, if you look closely, there's still creases there, right?
Yeah.
Some of them, through the work, through transformation and all that, will go away. And some of those folds will kind of stay there. And the reason they stay there is because they're so deeply ingrained that under pressure, we might tend to go back there like that. And just like working out and anything else, we have to keep doing the work. Right? I'm a work in process all the time, and I have my folds too, and I'm aware of them. And so I keep doing my work and growing and growing and growing, because some of those will go away and I won't have to experience them at all ever again. And some I'll just have a tendency to go into them and have to keep working with them.
Got it. And the work really helps you become aware of what those creases are too, so you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And then you have a choice. When you're aware of what they are, you have a choice.
Yeah, that's a super powerful visual. I have never seen that before.
Oh, well, you know, I never explain it the same way twice. So
Yeah.
I just hope it comes across.
It's wonderful. And so you've I'm putting this back on. You've also shared with me before this metaphor that of how when you're stuck, you actually should make it like lean into the stuck, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive. So I'm wondering if you could explain that a bit more.
Well, part of the reason why we have the issues we have is because of judgment anyway, and because of people trying to make us who we're not, right? You become a doctor when you should have been an artist, right? And all these things, right? So part of the healing and self-acceptance is allowing people to be where they are in a given moment, right? That's where change happens, right? So when you're stuck, you're really not stuck. What it is you've developed a personality around this blockage, right? And that blockage was created for a reason. It saved you in your life. It was like your teddy bear, right? If you're stubborn and willful, you needed that to preserve yourself, right? If you're rebellious, whatever you are, it was something that kind of saved you and allowed you to adapt in the environment you were in, right? So we really want to honor that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you honor it and you embrace it and you allow it to be, even exaggerate itself, number one, you can kind of see it and look at it and see if it still serves you. Number two, it takes away the judgment. And that healing is in the judgment. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We don't try to take a person who's here and make them go here. We let them go here. We let them experience here. We let them heal it and even exaggerate it. And then it will automatically dissipate. And then we actually can change.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense?
Great. That makes sense. And just to add, as you're speaking that, I was remembering another way. I think you explained it to me before also, is like, think about it like a swing. You want to push backwards so then you can go forward. So like kind of like that.
Yeah. Or also, like a pendulum, sort of like, so you look here at that, whatever that blockage is or that emotion or that hope, and we allow it to express itself to the fullest, right? Like this. And then it moves. And then we look over here at this one, and then we let it exaggerate, and then it opens up, and then it goes here. And that's kind of what we're doing our whole life, is really continuing to look at those things until we're not here anymore. We've got them.
Okay. And going back to what you were first explaining, well, I guess this is a question, because you've shared that basically we live we're mind heavy, right? We're in our brain, neck up, thinking all the time. And so it sounds like if we were more in tune with our body, we might be feeling and experiencing more naturally even during the day. So like, why do you think that disconnect happens? Happens to everyone in their life?
Well, because we operate out of our blockages all the time, out of the distortions that those blockages create. And negative thinking does that. So you're stuck in something about that you're not good enough, right? And all day long you're collecting the facts that show you you're not good enough, right? And so we operate and achieve out of not feeling we have to prove something, right? So we sort of hold on to it because it sort of works for us in a way. But it kind of takes away from us really being in that calm center space of who we really are. Does that make sense? I don't know if that.
Yeah.
Like fear. Fear is fight or flight. Fear is something primitive that we, learn to survive, right? If we don't move that fear, we're stay in fight or flight. That's how we operate in our life. Everything that goes wrong, we kind of go into that survival mode. Especially now in these times, people are kind of feeling afraid. They're feeling for their survival, so they're going into that sort of primitive place of fear, right? And we want to name it. We want to experience it. We want to grieve. We want to, all the things that are in our life before now that have changed. We want to voice, because then we can let it go. And then what we are doing is creating that space inside that, again, like this, which is what I call resiliency, right? And so then we're not so afraid, and we're able to be present to what's happening, and even grow from it, and knowing it's to grow.
Mm-hmm. Well, and okay, but if we don't know how to feel, like if we don't feel comfortable feeling or have the tools to feel, then that becomes very difficult to allow ourselves to
feel. So that's why we explore where that started. What is the seeds of that?
Okay.
So when we go into the body, we look back and we go back to where that memory is of that moment in which, someone told you it wasn't safe, or you felt it wasn't safe, right? And once we give it voice, then we can be free, and it will go away.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not operating from that anymore.
Nice. So I was wondering if you had any transformation stories you could share about breakthroughs maybe you've seen in your own life or in others using this tool of self-acceptance training.
Well, shoot, do I want to say something personal, or do I want to? Well, I can tell you, even for myself, my life before, all of the transformation I've experienced was really like I was very depleted and exhausted from a life in foster care and seeing trauma and not knowing what to do with it and having illness in my family and kids and all that stuff. And I hadn't really learned to express myself. Somewhere that shut down in my life. Through a lot of work, I found out where, but I ended up getting a autoimmune disease where I had a goiter the size like this in my throat.
Wow.
And it's actually what was the impetus for me to get help because I had really never been sick before. I felt horrible, and I went everywhere possible to try to heal. And it wasn't until I really worked with Cherie and began to learn about the fact that I hadn't been able to express myself and all the grief and the sadness and the trauma and all that stuff. And once I did that, it became clear that my work in my life's work is to be expressive and to express, right? It really showed me right there, my body was said, you need to be expressing yourself. And so that was transformational for me, and it got me on the path that I'm on now. And it sent me into private practice and, work body and everything that I'm doing now in spirituality. And it ended up sending me to Kabbalah and even exploring it more. So that was my pathway right there. That was the breakthrough for me. But it had to be through my body screaming at me that something had to change.
Literally screaming.
Screaming at me, right. And me screaming and crying and expressing something shy, super, held. And that's not working for me.
Yeah. And I think that's so powerful, just for anyone listening, that like to reflect on like times where I think our body has screamed at us in so many times, and just to like become aware of when that has been, and then why sometimes it takes so long to listen, or we're still not listening.
Yeah. Well, by the time people are in my office, they're riddled with anxiety, right? They're riddled with depression and all these things, right? And so we begin to peel back all the layers slowly, slowly, slowly. And, pretty dramatically, people can become feeling alive, very quickly. It's because once you get to the source and you remove it, things flow very quickly.
That's amazing. Well, then I was wondering if we can end with the grounding meditation, and
Sure.
I can take us into a little song.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of flow into it. So what I can do is maybe we can just get people to sort of be able to feel around in their body and get out of their mind for a minute, and then have I cue you to just go ahead and start your beautiful music.
Okay, let's do.
I'll just do this, and you can just get started. But
Okay.
All right. So can you give me a sense of like how much time?
I like is 3 to 4 minutes too little?
I don't know. We can get better than nothing.
Go for it.
All right. Well, who's ever out there listening at this moment, you can do two things. You can just be sitting in your chair with everything uncrossed and making sure you sort of lean back so you can feel the support of the chair. Or you can be laying down with your knees up and your feet flat is kind of a nice way to actually feel your feet on the earth. So just gently close your eyes. You'll follow my voice. Just take first a kind of a big inhale where you can kind of feel the expansiveness of your lungs. Just hold it a little bit for just a second more. And then you're going to release it. You're going to feel your whole body just kind of surrender to whatever you're sitting on, whatever's holding you up. Now, take a normal inhale and one kind of longer exhale, imagining that your breath is going all the way down to your feet. And feel your feet. And as you imagine that the breath is going to your feet, wiggle your feet when your breath is there. And this is the breath you're just going to keep doing as you follow my voice. And just imagine that the very crown of your head is kind of softening and opening. Just feel it open. And just imagine in your mind's eye that a white light is gently entering in and filtering into the crown of your head. And as it touches everything, that part of your body just softens. You kind of feel your forehead release as your mind clears of thought, experiencing your eyes sink into the sockets, jaw releasing as your whole face fills with that light. Using that nice long exhale to draw that down through the back of your neck, feeling your neck release, back of your shoulders, throat, creating space there. The light filters in and you feel letting go in your throat, experiencing that space where we can sound opening, softening, down through your chest and shoulders and all the way down to your arms, feeling a melting, softening sensation. Light filters in all the way down through your hands and into your fingertips. Experience your chest opening and filling with that light, radiating out your whole chest area, allowing yourself to experience that softening and opening all the way through your back, and down your spine, all the way through to your lower back. And just feel a softening and that light filtering in, the heart opening where we hold love, loss, and longing, and then moving that light and that breath down through your diaphragm, right beneath the rib cage, in your stomach. So feel a softening and that light filtering in. That's where we hold fear. Letting go of fear, feeling release of tension, allowing it to move through your whole pelvic region, your stomach, your intestines, your liver, all of your internal organs, and all the space between, just filling with light. Let that nice breath go into there. Where we hold resentments. Through your whole pelvic region, your glutes. Feel release as that light filters in. Using that breath to move down your thighs, into your knees. So we hold struggle. And then using that nice long breath to go all the way down to your calves, your ankles, and then finally into your feet. Feel the gravitational pull, really that light move down through your toes and your arches and the pads of your feet, and feel really feeling the earth at your feet, and let that breath go down there, taking a couple nice long breaths and letting anything that has retensed, anything that's relaxed can find infinitely more letting go as you put your breath in there, allow the light to fill your entire body. Take just a minute to explore further the sensation that might have woken up as you feel yourself release. What sensations are you noticing? No right or wrong, just kind of experience it, feel it. If you could just, how would you describe it? Is it a tingling? Is it a pull? Is it a heaviness? You just know, if you allow yourself to feel your feet, that your body is always talking to you. You're not being afraid and really listening. You can open that space voice up for light and for your potential to shine through. And when you're experiencing that, the external world, and what's going on, take the back seat, and you begin to allow yourself to experience who you really are, your full potential. So just take one more nice long breath down to your feet. Just feel your body and listen to the sounds. Relax the voice. You continue to feel your body.
Ani mani, ani mani, באמונה שלמה, באמונה שלמה, בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח. ואף על פי שיתממך, עם כל זה אחכה לו, עם כל זה אחכה לו, בכל יום שיבוא. לילה, 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 Lai 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 lai. Okay, it's a little something. That was beautiful. Thank you, Karen.
Help everyone feel in their bodies.
Yeah, and for anyone that's interested in learning more about self-acceptance training and your work, Karen, I think your website is, I'll post it afterwards, but it's Healing from the Inside Out. Is that right?
Yeah, just make sure you put my name in. Yeah.
Okay,
from the
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I will post that. So look out for that link. Another great class coming up that I talked about 2 weeks ago is that this coming Tuesday, for everyone watching, there's a pay as donation based free global Kabbalah 1. So I'll post that link too. It's an awesome course. Karen and I both have taken it. So the combination of this and that, you're like healing supreme.
Thank you. All right.
Have a good day.
Bye. Bye-bye.